There's been a mountain of evidence throughout the years that Bill OBrien has made his own decisions. I'm not saying he didn't consult with people or he didn't tell anybody, but he's made decisions for personal reasons. DeAndre Hopkins was a personal reason. They didn't get along. If Bill OBrien had a great relationship with DeAndre Hopkins would still be a member of the Houston Texans. You know why? Because what he had, Marcus, on his contract, like 2 or 3 years left on his deal. This is a future Hall of Fame receiver. He's had over 1,000 receiving yards for the last 5 seasons. He's had over 100 receptions the last 2. You have a star young quarterback in Deshaun Watson who loves this kid. They were like brothers with each other. They both went to the same university, Clemson University and what have you. You know what time it is, and you got to take that into consideration as well. But what did you do? You decided 3 years, 2 years in advance, you were going to make this decision on DeAndre Hopkins. It's because y'all did not have an ideal relationship with each other, and that superseded your football judgment. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Bill OBrien doesn't know football. The man's been to the playoffs about 4 different times. He's won the division just as many times, the AFC South. We get all of that, even though he hasn't sniffed at a title. We understand all of that, but I'm not going to. I saw the job that he did at Penn State, which was a damn good job. I know what credentials he had as an offensive coordinator working with Tom Brady before he went to Penn State. I'm not here to impugn his football acumen. A matter of fact, it's because of that I know it's personal. Because him being as smart of a football mind as he is, because he's certainly not a dummy, there is no way on earth you move DeAndre Hopkins unless your personal feelings usurped and superseded your football judgment and acumen. He can try to slice it and explain it any way he wants to. But the city of Houston, H-Town, needs to hold him accountable for this because for some reason, Rick Smits, the GM, is gone. Multiple other folks who've worked under him when they've struggled and didn't live up to expectations is gone. Somehow, some way, Bill OBrien is always the one who ends up standing since he's arrived in Houston. It seems to be everybody's fault but his. At some point in time, H-Town has to say, enough's enough. The moves that he's made is costing us too much.
All right. The answer is this doesn't change my mind about Bill Barnwell's an article I'm going to reference in a second about Bill OBrien at all. Bill Barnwell, our own on ESPN here, ESPN.com, you can check out the article to which I'm referring, said one day these moves as a GM are going to lead to a 30 for 30 documentary. They're so perplexing, right? But so there are 2 things here. One is the DeAndre Hopkins of it all. If you have a guy like that and he has a connection to a great young quarterback, you have a great wide receiver, you keep that together. Okay, so it'd be like if Walsh walked in, Bill Walsh walks into the quarterback room, tells Joe Montana, you know that you and that Jerry Rice guy, you have a good thing going, but he wants too much money, we traded him. That's the one thing, that's what you're reacting to, it seems to me, Stephen A. But check this out. I'll go with Bill OBrien. I'll say, fine, I accept your logic. Based on what Hopkins wanted to get paid, you felt it was in the best interest of the team to get rid of him. Let's take that as true, guys. I'm not saying it. Let's just take that as true and now examine what he did. He traded DeAndre Hopkins and got back a running back on such a bad contract. In that same Barnwell article I referred to, he said you need to get at least a 3rd-round draft pick as compensation just for taking the contract, David Johnson's contract. So when you look at the deal, they swapped 4th-round picks in different years. You call that a more or less canceling out. They got a 2nd-round pick and David Johnson for DeAndre Hopkins. Now think about this. If you're supposed to get a 3rd-round pick for taking David Johnson's contract, then the 2nd-round pick you got is really more like a 3rd-round pick because you'd have to package something together just to even move up to the 2nd round. So essentially what he did was trade DeAndre Hopkins in his prime for the value of a 3rd-round pick, more or less. Think about that. Even if you take Bill OBrien at his word, it's a terrible deal by a horrible GM.
Hey, so this is what's funny to me, and I love what both of you just said. Bill OBrien needed a lawyer to be with him during this interview for somebody to tell him to shut the hell up. All right, because you keep talking yourself into this hole. First of all, in today's NFL, who in the hell is planning for 2 to 3 years out when you have a Find me one organization. We talk about teams rebuild. Are you getting rid of players? Or Bill OBrien, are you saying I got rid of DeAndre Hopkins to start to build layers of players for the Houston Texans in the future? First of all, what gives you the nerve to think you still gonna be there? Who's telling you you can make these moves and we can wait 2 or 3 years from now to possibly have a run at winning a Super Bowl, let alone trying to win more than 1 or 2 playoff games? The second thing is this, and I love the point you brought up, Max. When you start talking about the value, right? We look at these receivers. What did Cleveland get for Odell Beckham Jr.? What did Buffalo just get for Stephon Diggs? What did
First
they just
rounders?
get for Brandon Cooks? What did they just get for Brandon Cooks to go? Listen, this is personal to what you were saying, Stephen A. This is Bill OBrien trying to emulate the guy in New England. This is also Bill OBrien having, it's almost arrogant to tell your team that I'm going to get rid of arguably the best offensive weapon that we have because I want to build 2 or 3 years from now. What other players know that they going to be there 2 or 3 years from now for you to give them a chance to try to win in this overall grand scheme of a plan? You just got rid of one of the top 3 receivers in the NFL, basically for a 3rd-round pick.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.